you a bean pie and watch some Crush Groove, man. It's like all cultural at the one time. Get it all at one time.
We are live. We are live. So here's the question for the night. The question for the night is, why is diversity in affirmative action still a problem? Right? Why is diversity in affirmative action not work for the Black community in 2021? But with that said, listen, everybody, you're watching the Black World Project. Every Sunday we are here at 7 p.m.-ish. We are a little delayed today. Some of us got some technical difficulties, but nonetheless, we are here. We're always going to be here at some time around 7. But again, thank you all. And as we were coming on, Courtney said she's never had a bean pie. What in the world is going on?
Ah, man.
What does that
I had
mean?
to represent the War Report, man. Shout to CNN.
Yo, you wildin', dog.
Don't let her off the hook by changing the subject. And I see what you're doing right here, man. I see what you're doing right now, man. You know, I mean, you in your bag, but how can you not have had bean pie? Like we have to get you. Where is Ty at? We got to speak to Ty. We have to get you a bean pie and watch Crush Groove or some of the other
Okay, I'll defend you a little bit, Courtney. I've only had 2 in my entire life.
Here comes some bail.
Two
in my entire life.
Man, y'all done had the problem.
Listen, I'll say this, Courtney. If you never have it, it's okay. And I'm not saying that because I've had it many times, but I stopped eating it when I bought a house on 51st Street. I went out back to the backyard and looked up to the neighbor house, and I could see a hole clear through the roof. A couple of days later, he come out with a crate of bean pies. Like, he don't want to sell them. So if you never have them, listen, I get it. I don't eat them no more.
Ho. So we gonna judge all bean pies by that brother?
You don't listen. They don't. They don't have a original date. If they have an original location, some kind of markings, cool. But without that, pass. Hard pass.
Hard pass.
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
So here's the thing, and I haven't really gone actively out to look for one, but I was reading. I don't know if I watched a video and I read something, and it really talked about how they wanted to make a cultural staple, and that's kind of how the bean pie came about. And I was like, oh, that's dope. I should really get one. And then I kind of, at some point, life happened and.
No, listen, they're good, but just know who's making them. That's all.
Yeah, so you always should know the origin.
Isn't that the case for any food product?
And that's exactly my point, man. You can't do that, man. You can't do that, man.
All right, so listen, y'all. Let's get back on track. Happy Sunday, everybody. Listen, there's only 4 Black CEOs in the Fortune 500. 4 Black CEOs in the Fortune 500. It's 2021. There's only been 19 in the history of the Fortune 500 out of 1,800 people, but the ones that are current right now: Ken Frazier at Merck, Marvin Ellison at Lowe's, Roger Ferguson at TIAA-CREF, all right, and Renee Jones at M&T Bank. What's going on here? It's 2021. All these banks, all these companies are pandering to Black folks. Supposedly they're sad about George Floyd. I guess they got their ass handed about I've just messed that up. They're upset about all the riots, right? They lost property, and so now they want to make some amends. But there's only 4 Black people in CEO. And what I need to do, and what we should do, and we talked about doing this a long time ago, is how many of these companies that are pandering to Black folks actually have Black people in the C-suite. For those who don't know, that's the executive suite of major corporations.
Kamari, hold on. I thought this was the case. Ken Frazier actually, I believe, stepped down as CEO earlier this year. So we're looking
this year.
Yeah, so April. So it says Robert M. Davis will become president of Merck on April 1st, and this was published in February. So as it stands right now, from my understanding, he's not the CEO of Merck, but I'm not sure because I can't really find any other commentary beyond that. So I don't know, but I know there was a conversation that we talked about earlier this year. So I don't know. I mean, we might be looking at 3 and not 4. So
that's my point. Always important to be accurate and factual here. But either way, 3 or 4, that ain't good.
Before we jump into our main topic, though, there's a couple things I want to say. For one, I just want to shout out Sister Muhammad's Kitchen on the 4400 block of Germantown Avenue, because you can get amazing bean pies there. It's a Black-owned business, and they got the top fish hoagie in the country. But that's either here nor there.
That'd be facts, though.
Yeah, and second, we got a couple segments we got to do. Yeah, we got a couple segments we got to do before we jump to the main topic, Kamar.
But no, we only got 5 minutes. Come on now. Malik's out of here.
I know Malik's out of here, but we're not going to do a BOB of the week, man. We got to salute the BOBs, right?
No, but that ain't where you going. I know where you're going.
You don't know where I'm going, man. See? You don't know where I'm going, man. I mean, you don't know where I'm going. But anyway, man, we got to salute the BOBs of the week, man. So you ready to do that? Or, I just sent you the actual website so we can salute these young brothers, man.
I have it. Go ahead. So tell us about the BOB of the week, Jimmy.
All right. So it's these 3 young brothers, out of the DMV area. I believe they're in DC. And their name is pronounced Perez Branchow, but they are 3 young brothers that have a candle company. Their story is a little funny, right? So they wanted money for toys and things of that nature, and their mom said, "Look, you either go get a job or start a business because I'm not paying for it." And they took her serious, started a business, and now their business, as you can see, is found in Macy's, Whole Foods, Target, and they create these candles that are culturally appropriate, right? And they have amazing products. So I want to salute these young brothers. They all they're young too. They're fairly young. I think the oldest out of the 3 is something like 15 or 16, something like that. So yeah, but and by the way, I have some here in my hand because we don't just talk about it. We actually do this. We support Black business. Go ahead. This one right here. This candle right here is called Wakanda Forever, right? This candle right here is called Love Jones. You know what I mean? So Love Jones right here. You see that? It's kind of glare, but Love Jones is this candle. And they smell amazing, man. Just gotta take my word for it, but they smell amazing. So shout out to those young brothers, man, for first of all, just listening to Mom Dukes and starting their own business. And, now there are 3 entrepreneurs out there building a business. So I want to make sure we support them.
That's dope. I'm gonna buy 1 or 2 tonight.
Yo, also as an aside, Minky Blue, which was a previous one, got another Minky Blue bag. You know what I'm saying? So we definitely supporting Black owned businesses over this side. You know what I'm saying? So we got the regular tote, and now we got the book bag joints key. So, shout out to Minky Blue. But it's not really about Minky Blue.
Which one of those do you rock, Jimmy?
I don't rock either one of them, honestly. Both of those are my wife. But I do like that Love Jones though. I ain't gonna hold you. I got my little candle warmer. You know what I mean? It goes down. Shout out to Love Jones.
All right. Jose says someone posted for their website. Give me 1 second, Jose.
I'll put it in the chat if I can.
No, I got it. Right.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Yeah. All right, folks. So this is what it is. We're talking about diversity and affirmative action and the problems with it. So go ahead and put in the chat, 1, where you're yelling from, and 2, what do you think the problem is with diversity and affirmative action? Or do you think affirmative action and diversity are just fine? We would love to hear your thoughts on it.
And real quick, Kamari, last thing I want to say is our R&B icon of the week is Neo. So you guys got to understand that Neo is a legend and give Neo his props. That's our R&B icon of the week. You know what I'm saying? I told you guys I created a segment. Kamari, I don't think you're gonna argue me on this one though, right?
No, because it was my suggestion. But go ahead.
Oh, Neo was your suggestion. Listen, I don't know whose suggestion it was. You know what I'm saying? I just want to give Neo his props. Give Neo his flowers while he's here, man. It's the R&B icon of the week. So you're not gonna at least you ain't gonna debate me on this one. So let's we good.
I love Neo. I think Neo is the modern day Smokey Robinson.
Wow, that's big praise.
I mean, when you look at his discography and you see all the hits he's written, he's a legend.
I'm not saying he's not, but Smokey, that's like go look at Smokey stuff.
No, Smokey's got hits. He got mad hits. So, no diss at all. No diss at all. Did Malik disappear again?
He did.
Okay. All right, because I'm looking. Oh, there he is. I'm like, where is he at? Where did David Ruffin go? Or Nori for the night? All right, well, let's check in with our folks real quick, y'all. Let's check in with our folks. Don Johnson's in the building.
Don, what's up, bro?
Yes,
Sakina. Hey, Sakina.
Hey, Sakina, how are you?
Hey, what's going on?
Tay Renee, what's up, Tay?
Hey, what's up, Tay? Shout to Tay.
Hey,
Came
what's
to the
going
camp
on?
yesterday.
Tay was in the camp yesterday, right?
Yeah, she had her peoples in the camp. Yep.
We were in the camp.
Yes.
Before we get this party started, you know what? I would be remiss if I didn't give Corey and Jimmy a big shout out for running their ownership camp, the Fatherhood Ownership Camp for youth. I love what they're doing. I love that they're giving back to the community, and we need more of this. So salute
Thank
to
you,
you.
bro.
Appreciate you, man.
Agreed. Here.
All right, Karan in the bottom. What's up, Karan?
Youre.
All right.
Don, get right to it. Don, get right to
Right
it.
to the chase.
He got right to the heart of it.
Yeah, let's not
right to the
words.
chase.
Let's get right to it.
Don,
Youre, what's going on, Monica?
Hey, Monica. Jose, how you doing?
Hey.
Back.
Benedict Arnold Tay.
JT. Yo.
Youre, what's going on, JT?
Dr. JT.
Y'all gotta go check out JT's latest video. He pulled all the facts on one of our Philly heroes, so I ain't saying no names because I don't want no smoke.
Hey, listen, man. Let me be quiet. I saw the video. I definitely subscribe to JT's channel. You know, so I'm gonna leave it alone though.
Yep. Chukama Carter geared up for war and he's in internet skeets.
not war. It's just it's a tribute. That's a tribute.
All I'm gonna say, Kamari, is donations. But let's go.
Donations still have to be reported, but yeah. What's up, Robbie? Khan, how you doing? It's Khan, you down there in the H2, right?
Yeah.
Khan the world tour.
Nice. All right, we got that. Oh, posted in the group. Yeah, Karan, do me a favor. Can you post it in the group, or can somebody post it in the group? Or if not, we'll get to it. All right, so Don says living in NC, soon to be VA. Hailing from Philly. Okay.
What part of VA you going to? You going? Don't go too far down South VA. You know they still. Never mind.
Well, listen, he's in North Carolina though, so anything he does, he's going north.
Understand, but still, Virginia is a little different when you get to certain parts of Virginia. Like,
yeah, man.
Carolina, like depends upon where you at in Carolina. Though, you go to Charlotte, something like that. Charlotte's like little Atlanta.
Yeah, but then you got the mountains.
This is true.
Yeah.
There's still a few sundown towns.
Southern Virginia a little different though, bro.
Yeah. All right. So Jose says NYC affirmative action was a token effort put out to supposedly balance the scales. Does it work? Yes, to a degree. Jose, follow-up question. How does it work? All right. JT says St. Louis diversity and affirmative action is still needed, and more young Black professionals need to take advantage of it. Facts. All right. As to diversity, it's a cat hall, in my opinion. So that real work isn't put into really correcting systemic problems.
I think he meant to say catch-all.
Catch-all. Okay, thank you. Corey, you know you always the one that got to have my back on those.
Yeah, I was like, I feel like that was an autocorrect issue. But yeah, no, he's right.
Yeah,
I think most of them are actually autocorrect issues. What's up, Willard?
Youre, what's going on, Willard?
What's up, Willard?
Now, this is a major fact that a lot of people don't realize. Diversity / affirmative action has given to white women.
So
that's the reason, because it's for disenfranchised people.
No, that's not it. So here's the problem. There's 3 levels of scrutiny. It's rational basis, intermediate scrutiny, and strict scrutiny. And gender falls under intermediate scrutiny, and race falls under strict scrutiny. So whenever there's a issue, strict scrutiny, race issues are going to be looked at a more, I guess it's going to look at more harshly, and they're going to say, well, is this narrowly tailored to fit whatever they're trying to fix? And with intermediate scrutiny, it's like kind of more or less like, does it kind of do what it's trying to do? Oh, okay, I guess so. So gender falls under that second intermediate scrutiny. So the beneficiaries of affirmative action, which wasn't necessarily the way it was set out, but in actual practice, you are correct. But I wanted to clear up the reason why that is. It's a constitutional reason. So.
Right, but it still goes back to the whiteness of wealth, right? So they wrote the rules so white men can still take advantage of the system.
No, it wasn't done that way. Like, I think, like I said, it was, they did it in a way, and they're like, all right, cool, I'm pushing back. But seriously, in actuality, when they tried to put it out, they actually tried to do it the proper way. But when they did all of these levels of scrutiny, that's kind of what ended up happening. So it wasn't necessarily that they set out to do that. It's just in practice, you have something that is actually in form, a law that's doing something, and then you actually have in practice. This is a practical issue.
No, I get that. But so let me ask you this question, since you're pushing back. You don't think that the same authors of redlining and crack cocaine and anybody else might have thought to write that into the law so they could take advantage of it?
I mean, I don't think so. I mean, we can look at the authors of all those particular bills. I mean, we can look at the bills and we'll go through there. I mean, I haven't done that yet, but they're not the same people. But again, you're going to have some exploitation when it comes to it. And I mean, and honest to goodness, nobody really realized that white women were the biggest beneficiary of affirmative action for 10 years after it went in effect. That it wasn't even an idea that was going on. And then they looked at the numbers and they're like, how do we get here? And boom, this is what happens.
All right, so Monica put up, what's up, Monica? She put up affirmative action is supposed to favor underrepresented groups in terms of race, sex, religion, or national origin. So basically they get around filling spots with black people or filling spots with black folks.
Yep.
All right,
affirmative action really was never affirmative for us. It was never affirmative, and we really ain't get that much action. Right. So it was just words on paper and shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, not to say that no one benefited from it, but like it for the vast majority of black people, it was just words on paper. Like, it ain't really benefit us in no major way.
And I think
especially
our parents,
because our government is paperwork gangsters.
Facts.
Like, you really gotta have your paperwork specifically set out these programs, and no one tells us that you got to be a paperwork gangster to take advantage of this kind of stuff.
That's definitely fair. And I think the biggest beneficiaries of affirmative action were maybe like our parents and right under like the next group of people right under our parents, because they got a lot more movement than we do. And a lot of people still claim affirmative action is problematic, and they've actually watered down a lot of the programs that they initially had for some of the things that I talked about.
So are we talking affirmative action from the standpoint of getting jobs or from the standpoint of getting contracts, Courtney?
I'm talking about the standpoint of getting jobs and education. I'm specifically talking about those two.
Okay. All right, let's get where are we at? So Don says, I just watched that video today. What video are we talking about, Don? Kahan's back in Philly. All right, so welcome back, brother.
I think he's talking about JT's video.
Oh, okay. Affirmative action works in giving some opportunities in education, housing, etc., but those who benefit largely are not the intended group it was designed for.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Elizabeth is in the building. What's up, Liz?
Hey, what's going on, Liz?
Hey, Liz.
All right, Tracy Powell, missing your fly eyewear. Tracy, them eyes is naked today. How about that?
I know. Giving my eyes a break. My allergies are on fire right now. So next week I got you, Jose. I got some new flyness anyway.
Shout out to everybody with allergies post COVID, because now you'll be out here looking crazy. You know,
Crazy.
You got the regular allergies, and everybody looking at you like.
That's a fact. That's a fact. All right, so I want to hear from the audience. I mean, again, I hear y'all speaking up about it. What should we be doing now, though? Right? We know there's a semblance of what affirmative action was supposed to be, right? What diversity is supposed to be. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's talking about it in light of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. But what's next? What's next? Do we really think any real movement is going to happen?
Is that a real question?
Can I, like, you want the short answer or the long answer, and they both got 2 letters.
Right. Right.
Short answer and the long answer got the both. No.
All right, give us
like,
all right.
That's not even a real question.
All right, well, what was the long answer then, Corey?
No. Short answer and the long answer got the same thing, man. Ain't nothing popping, man.
Well, I'll say this, right? Going back, I'm sorry, Courtney, where are you going?
It just doesn't, the way it's set up, it doesn't even work. My problem is that diversity is actually a good business decision. I know that even being in, and we talk about this amongst my peers, is that when we're in the room, the whole conversation changes. And I think that's a good thing. But unfortunately, people feel like they're giving us a handout. And it's like, no, we're still the flyest, smartest people on earth. You should want to have us in your room. But again, if you believe that the people that you're inviting to the table are less than you and have less to offer than you, then it's never going to be taken seriously. The problem with the whole diversity idea and affirmative action idea is that the ideas that started or allowed slavery to continue never changed. You always thought that we were workhorses and we should be working for free and that we were stupid, dumb, and lazy. And you never changed that. You just said, hey, we can't say those things in public. That's all that's really changed. So I don't expect you to do anything on the diversity tip because you don't feel like you need to be diverse because you don't feel like we deserve to be at the table.
Right, but I'll say this, even like Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank thing. Now he's saying he's not investing in any companies without a woman like on their board. Like, so they went that for that. Like, listen, this is my money. Companies with women on their board operate better, but nobody's taking any kind of stance about that, about Black people or people of color. It's just women, and I can appreciate that, but ultimately we do still have to look at the nepotism, right? If they all at the old boys club and they say, who do you know to fill the position? Like, how many of us, like, even on this panel, come on, take it off, please. Take it off.
Keep going.
I want to see the whole panel. How many of us on this panel even know any white people? Actually know. Seriously.
No, you're right. I'm laughing because
I didn't hear the question. I didn't hear it.
I said, how many of us on this panel actually know white people, like are close to them or call them, hang out? This not many of us probably do, right? At least in regular basis. Okay.
Man, listen, I don't think outside of a service worker, any of them have been in my vicinity house. I don't break bread with them. And that's no disrespect. I mean, it is what it is, though.
It's just who you know, who you was raised with. I'm in Philadelphia, right? I didn't meet a white person until I was in 4th grade. I'm saying, and so the people that I know are mostly Black. And so when you get in those positions and you're meeting people in like a wealthier neighborhood, a wealthier school, the people that they know are mostly white. I mean,
I get that. I mean, that's the network. It's networking, right? Only white person I know, like OT the real. That's about it here in Philly. But outside of that, but my issue, like with this whole conversation, right? What I think about with this topic is even though those of us that get the opportunity, what do we do with the opportunity, right? Because Carter G. Woodson talks about this a lot in his book. A lot of us, excuse me.
No, Sam, miseducation of the Negro.
Yes, miseducation Negro. So we'll get these positions, right? And we don't like use that to bring others along because we feel as though it threatens us. I was just watching that show that I put you down with Kamari, the pop show, and they had an episode about the Swedish musicians, right? And how Swedish musicians dominate pop music. One of the reasons they dominate pop music is because anytime anyone gets an opportunity, they bring somebody along. And every time they bring somebody along, that person, studies with them, and then, it continues. And in my experience, and also like just from what I see, we have to do more of that. The one thing I will say about some of the CEOs you mentioned, when you look through their background, a lot of them have tried to bring up Black executives. But that's also the reason why we need more, because we're going to be the ones to give opportunities to our own folks. But we have to get in the door first. But I want those that get the opportunity to understand that it's bigger than them. A lot of times we're just selfish, and we're so worried about our status of being like, that token Negro or being their Negro that we don't even want to, help anybody else come along. And I think that's part of this conversation as we start to talk about diversity and affirmative action. It's like, when you get the opportunity, what do you do with it?
I mean, I agree with that. I just feel like there's a lot of PTSD in our community about being able to be successful and what actually does success look like for each individual person. And some people may see somebody climbing or in a space that they feel is successful, but that person that's in that arena may not feel like they've reached the plateau of their career to be able to turn around and pull up and help people into that space yet, because they don't feel secure in that space. And I think it's definitely helpful to be able to support those of us that are in the room, that have kind of boxed out in a space of getting a seat or even a place in the room at the table, to be able to empower them to say, hey, what you've mastered so far, you can probably teach other people at least the level of which you've mastered. Sometimes I feel like it does get tricky because some of us get a little ahead of ourselves and believe that we've mastered level 0.5 and want to teach the entire curriculum or industry. And you have to actually
somebody tell my all these social media.
Tracy shooting shots.
I'm gonna mind my business. But anyway,
But listen, I wanna show
the guns out tonight.
Yeah, the guns are definitely out.
My eyes hurt. My allergies, y'all got me out here. Look, we gonna check.
All right, so listen, I want to show this clip real quick, and I want to get everybody's response to it. Just want to share a little bit of it, and this is a clip right here that we have with Melody Hobson that was done on Black Enterprise. I was about to say Black Enterprise, but that was done for
all across
Fortune.
the country about race, inclusion, diversity, inequality, social injustices. How would you characterize where those conversations are today? Do you see any progress?
Well, I'd start by saying I'm glad these conversations are happening, but I feel like it's Groundhog Day in a way. Everything old is new again. We had these conversations, obviously, during the times of the Civil Rights Act. They come back over and over and over again. And it seems like we're having to relearn the same lessons, have the same conversations. And I'd love it to be that we have these conversations and we come to some definitive conclusions and actions that makes them obsolete.
Well, do you think, at least in this go around, do you think that people are feeling more comfortable talking about race? And do we need to see that first before we can have any real change?
I don't know if it's comfort. I think that it feels necessary. There's an urgency around this issue right now in a way that I think perhaps the majority community hasn't felt in modern times in this way before. That's not to say this urgency hasn't been there before. Again, I think when Martin Luther King was protesting so many of the wrongs of the South, there was an urgency then. When you were seeing dogs and hoses turned on, young Black people were trying to sit at lunch counters, there was an urgency. And I think this urgency has come back again in recent times, certainly as a result of the murder of George Floyd. Seeing that on camera, 8 minutes and 46 seconds, I think raised a level of consciousness that we have not had at the surface level in this way before. And I think that ultimately is a very, very good thing. But I don't think that's about comfort.
Well, you know, in those examples that you said, in those days, it was very rare to have a CEO talk up on this subject at all. And now, as you know, we're hearing from so many CEOs saying that they do want to make their workforces more diverse. They do want to do a better job at that. How can they really make that happen? What do they have to do to move the needle?
Well, first of all, I think it's turn. So just so you know, I think that we solved some of these issues around politics and policy in the 60s with laws and but now this has become a conversation that is essential inside of corporate America, because it's essential to corporate America's success or failure. I've been very open in saying if you are not a diverse company, you're not a 21st century company, and ultimately you are committing corporate suicide. It's not a question of if you will die, it's when. Now, it could take a long time, but if you don't have diverse people in your organization over time, that is going to be a major, major problem.
What do you say to those CEOs?
So y'all said, right? She said, if you don't have, like Courtney said, diversity in your corporations are going to die. I mean, you would think it's that simple, but like Courtney said earlier, it's been proven that diversity actually increases the bottom line. But again, I still feel like it's a platitude. It's a pandering. It's not really real at this point.
Some of them would rather die than give us power, but that's a whole other story. But I do want to say that shout out to Melody Hobson, but she's an example of what I was talking about. So she, John Rogers helped elevate her to the position, and who's a black man, right? So that goes to show that what we can do when we bring each other up with us. So and I love what they're doing at Aerial Investment. So shout out to both of them.
So anybody else have any commentary?
Yeah. Two things about what she said. One, the murder of George Floyd didn't cause this. The young lady filming the murder of George Floyd caused this, because this happens all the time. That's the first thing. Not that she was wrong. She just didn't have the full, complete thing that caused it. Because the young lady filming it caused it, because that happens to black people all the time, and it doesn't get filmed, and that's why the outrage isn't there. But the second thing about what she said is these companies will die. We'll die before these companies, because companies are systems and people are people. And so we'll die before these companies will. And so the thing is, the fight has to continue for those companies to die. And so not that she's wrong, but she's, again, I think, missing a piece. You know what I mean? Because we're talking about systems versus a lifetime. And this is how, these systems and these things get passed on, is because the systems get passed on, but once people die, they're gone. And so we have to think in terms of systems instead of people. And so we have to create systems that'll help us get out of this. So we got to stop thinking in terms of people and start thinking in terms of systems.
So we got to do we before I.
Yep.
Gotcha. Anybody else have anything else on this? Tracy, what's the smirk for? What's wrong?
I think it's going to be very, very tough to make that transition into those spaces, because a lot of people don't even think we before I. So to have them operate in a structure and in a business mindset that is we before I, they have to do it at home first.
Ooh. Woo.
Bars.
Yeah, and really, people, it's difficult, right? A lot of people think me before I, because it requires sacrifice, right? It requires you to be places and put in time where most of us, right, that just kind of coming into being comfortable, probably working 2-3 jobs, extra hours. I don't know. I have no, Tracy probably worked 20 hours. 20 hours extra, 70, 80 hours a week. Courtney, probably worked 60, 80 hours a week. I know we all put in extended periods of time, right? Just to be a little comfortable. And now, and realizing what I have to do to stay the comfort, do I have the time and or money to work on the way, right? And then there are times where I get frustrated with because I'm like, listen, I'm trying to take you there, but you'd rather be over there somewhere. I can't help that. So there's a lot of other factors in working on the whole I versus we conversation. But once again, what Tracy said, it starts in the home. I even have that we mentality because my parents were on that same thing. So you're right, it starts there.
Gotcha. So I see a couple of comments. Nobody else on the panel. Wait a minute, are we missing somebody?
Yeah,
y'all keep playing musical chairs, man.
I'm having an activity problem myself.
It's COINTELPRO, man.
That was COINTELPRO. It's the algos.
It is. But I think one of the problems is that we can't get to we. I think Jimmy and Corey talk about it a lot. We have a love problem, and a lot of it's a self-love problem. And so, and I think that's one thing of it. And then also bringing other people along is that they have instilled a fear in us that if you bring somebody along and they don't perform to whatever random standard, I was going to say something else, whatever random standard that is presented, then you're going to be looked at. What happened? What I just
say it. Say it.
No. So whatever, whatever random standard, and if they're not quote performing, then they feel like that's going to be reflected on them poorly. And honestly, it does, because it's kind of like they don't do it to anybody else. Like and I'll just say John brings in, Tim does nothing, and John's not going to be penalized for what Tim does, but change the tables. If it's a Black person, they could get penalized, and that's a real thing. So it's like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? So it's not that people don't want to bring people along. It's just that they have this, Tracy said, it's PTSD. We have such a fear of bringing other people along because we'll be negatively evaluated if, in fact, they don't measure up. I think it's more of a fear of not measuring up than it is trying to be the only Negro in the room.
So can we talk numbers here? The problem is that 97% of Black people work for white people. That's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem in a nutshell in the numbers. Right. And so when you have 97% of a population working underneath another population, the rules is always going to be skewed in favor of that other population. Mm-hmm. So let's be very, very clear about what's happening. Right. It's not that we don't, that they don't want to do things. But my thing is, if the overarching system is in their favor and 97% of us work in that system, then that's how we get caught up in having these conversations about diversity and stuff. Like, my thing is, if we support each other and we build systems, then that 97% becomes 90%, and then that 90% becomes 85%. And we can start to decouple ourselves from the systems that keep us having these stupid conversations.
But I think what Malik said is very, very important. And what Courtney said, right? Sometimes the fear of being chastised or looked upon badly because of somebody's inadequacy, no matter what it is.
Where does the fear come from? The fear comes because we
hold
work for some white dude.
Hold on, Corey, because I got a question. The question is for you. So, since we have all this fear, how do we overcome that?
The fear, we overcome that fear by creating our own stuff and then hiring our own people. So it won't be the system looks the same, except for the characters are different. The characters are different. If Black John had hired somebody and that other black person is shiftless and doesn't do anything, then we just say the person that's shiftless and doesn't do anything gotta go, and we hire another black person in that place because we control that system. And that's the same thing that they do. I don't even blame European folks for that, because that's exactly what they're supposed to do. But what I'm saying is, if we create our own stuff, and it doesn't even mean we gotta, leave America to do all of this stuff. We can do that right here. We could do it anywhere in the world. I'm not saying that we should or shouldn't leave America, but we got to decouple ourselves from the systems that cause us to have these fears. We got to go right to the root and kill it at the root.
I mean, again, I get it. Courtney talked about love. Malik talked about the frustration. Tracy talked about doing it in the home. Again, I think it's from a practicality standpoint. It's really hard for us to talk about decoupling when we see ourselves so tied to the system. So I don't know how we even move to that until we see ourselves as separate from the system while we live here. There's perfect examples of that, but I don't know how we do that.
Yeah, but, right now, my wife works in sciences. Very few Black people, very few women, right? She had a mentor that kind of helped her a little bit, but once she got promoted to a different company, my wife had no support. And on multiple occasions, like, people that started after her get promotions ahead of her. And then now that she's in a decent position, there's nobody even behind her for her to pull them up. They just don't have anybody in sciences doing the things that she was doing. So she can't even help anybody to excel in that company, that position, because we need other people to come behind her. We just don't have that. In her position, anyway. Yeah,
they have to want to do it so that she can help them.
But they're not there. That's what he's saying, though, Corey. They're not even there.
Right. I'm agreeing.
Yeah. But so it's a couple of things, right? It's like, why aren't they there? And like, are they not applying? And once again, when Courtney said a couple episodes ago, to make math and science seem like it's hard. So people don't want to do it. You know, my wife went to Lincoln University, shout out to Lincoln. You know, she was a biology major, right, and came through that. I don't know how many black biology majors. I know one chemistry major, right? When we come down to it.
My wife graduated with a degree in biology.
So there you go.
I have a degree in chemical engineering.
Whoa.
But listen, but you're both entrepreneurs, though. Your wife and Tracy both entrepreneurs, right? You know, right?
But I say that to say there are a lot of us, black and brown, and men and women that are in that space. They just really have to be sought out in the communities. National Association of Black Engineers, Latino Association of Black Engineers. A lot of them really, really are a strong resource to seek out people if you want people to kind of come and join your organizations. Now, the concern is the people who own these companies who are employing people like your wife, are they reaching back into those pots?
Like Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo, they can't find anybody. What do you mean you can't find anybody? Wells Fargo.
How hard are you looking? I mean,
they're lying, but they're lying.
Yeah, that sounds like the mayor of y'all city. You can't find no good qualified black folks to be in administration. That's the.
Just because you're from Delaware County, I mean, you got beat that way, man.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I'm not from Delaware County. I'm from Philly. You want to stop slandering my name?
We took your Philly card. We took your Philly card.
Mayor Kenny. No, stop. Mayor Kenny actually said that. Mayor Kenny actually said that, though, Jim. So,
he did.
I'm not saying he did.
We're not defending that dude. We're just saying you still not from Philly.
I didn't say that. I just said y'all mayor. He ain't my mayor, and I'm still from Philly.
But that's our point.
I'm outside the system.
But that's our point. You don't live in. You're not here. You don't live here.
But Courtney, hush. You was never outside, so be quiet.
What are you talking about? Wait. Time out.
Never outside. We outside now.
Oh man.
Really?
Oh, let's get ugly.
Really?
On this show.
Really? Okay. That's fine.
Come on, Courtney. Where the bars at?
I live in the city of Philadelphia. I don't know what to tell you. I live there. So
who cares?
You just like on the porch.
I mean, I might have. It's fine though. I still live in the city of Philadelphia, though.
But I'm gonna get you a bean pie when this is all said and done, though.
I don't want you to be pie, though. I don't trust it. I don't trust
it.
This is way left. All
right, yes. Let's go left.
Way fast.
We coming back. All right, listen. Let's jump into some of these chats. Elizabeth says anything that involves me being affirmed by the Mayo clan is meaningless. I have to deal with your oppressive ass antics. Well,
that's fair.
It's fair, but I think Corey said it. Elizabeth, we need a book. You be dropping bars, so
definitely need a book, Elizabeth. We definitely need a book or forward something.
Don Johnson says any movement that we made will come from our community. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Don also says the first white person my own age I met was in the 5th grade. He smelled like piss.
I can't.
Yo.
All
right, Jay Patterson. What's up, Jay? Specificity for black people needs to be on the table. We need to look at restitution and representation in emerging markets, such as cannabis, where many black men were institutionalized for. We also need grants and incentives to get us into the new market. Diversity is a word that allows other groups to benefit from black trauma. We need lending institutions to pay restitution for generations of discrimination. And all of this can only be done with legislation, but we need to invest in a legislation. I agree.
Yeah.
I will say this though. I don't think we can't expect the system to help us. I think that's an exercise in futility in my opinion.
I just want to put an asterisk: black men and black women.
For sure.
I think black women get overlooked in the way that they were treated vis-a-vis the war on drugs a lot. And I think that gets overlooked. I know black men, but black women also. Black people.
No, listen, man. None of these movements happen without black women. Black women were at the forefront, of all these movements.
No, but I think Courtney's point was when we talk about like a war on drugs and things, a lot of times we leave out how it affected our sisters. I watch enough.
I thought Courtney was talking about direct imprisonment of Black women.
Oh,
yes. But that's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. But when we talk about the war on drugs, a lot of times we talk about its effect on Black men, but we leave Black women out like they weren't directly affected. I mean, I watch enough trap queens to know that's not true.
Okay, all right. So Elizabeth says, not if the diversity is still white-centered, meaning you look that part but play their role.
And that happens in a lot of professional spaces. I mean, across the board. Like I'm glad to see a Black face, but I don't want what I would consider to be ideas that are outside of the norm. But again, like I said, diversity is a good business decision. So you don't want the things that actually bring value to your company because you're afraid of what that may look like in, what it may look like or what it may feel like. I mean, I feel like even in the legal space is that as long as I come in, and I mean, I have braids. I mean, and I kind of did some pushing back on myself. Like, why am I not going to wear braids? It's the summer and it's hot. So I'm going to wear braids. And, I've had a lot of people like, oh, well, why would you do that in your firm picture? Why would you? Because I'm not going to put on anymore, but I think we're expected to put on. I'm expected to look a certain way. I'm expected to act a certain way. And I feel like those are the things that make me uniquely who I am. So I'm going to continue to be who I am. You could either lay down, get down or lay down, and that's just it.
Get down or lay down.
But that's hard for us in the professional spaces because that's not what it is. I lived in West Virginia. I was an attorney in West Virginia, and it went horribly for those reasons because you expected me to be a Black face, but you expected me to do everything that you would do. I'm not a big drinker. So you expected me to go out and drink and have fun with you. I don't do that. Me culturally, I only go out with friends to drink. Y'all not my friends. You pay my, you send me a check. But I think that's a cultural thing that I will engage in other things, but that's not something I'm going to do, especially as a single Black woman. I was not doing that. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying what you said is an amazing point. I was probably gonna do a whole show on that. Yep. About how when we get in those spaces, the kind of fight you have with yourself, to deal with what you just said. Like, no, you said, F it, I'm just going to be who I am. But there's a fight because, if you want to bring your people in, if you want to bring your people up, you got to kind of play the game. Yeah. So the idea of playing the game, I think, is a great conversation. We probably could do a whole show on playing the game.
Man, listen, I've been fired from management level jobs because of what Courtney was talking about as far as going out. Y'all not my friends. Why the hell am I going anywhere with y'all? Like, y'all, I don't go anywhere with people I don't genuinely like. Like, so that doesn't make any sense to me. Like, it's not that I dislike y'all, but y'all not my friends. So where am I going?
That's right.
Like,
it's definitely a cultural thing. You only break bread with your friends. Maybe that's why Kamari shot us down. Like, no, ma.
Oh, man.
Hey, Tracy, hold on. Oh, Tracy said, did he say that? Did he shoot us down, though?
He did.
Okay.
No, you're not giving context. I'm tired of y'all besmirching my name without giving context. The first time we met Jimmy and Corey, where were we at? We broke.
No, listen. I owe you a meal. I'm not denying that. But
You don't owe me nothing.
Tracy,
we're not keeping count.
Tracy tried to. No, we're not keeping count. But I told you, I promise you, when everything opened up. But Tracy tried to set up a thing. And you're like, no, I ain't going out to with y'all.
I thought that was a party. I thought y'all talking about a party, not
a party.
Okay, maybe I missed it. All right, so for everybody that's watching, Jimmy's letting y'all inside of our group chat when we share messages. And a lot of times there's a lot of besmirchment and slander on my name. So I'll be a little defensive at times. So, up until like 2 episodes, Tracy was the only one that was actually nice to me. But that sense has changed as well.
She's being honest, though. All she did was
she slandered me. She slandered me a couple weeks too. She slandered me a couple weeks ago too.
Listen, she's just being honest, man. You got Delaware.
It's all good, though. I still love y'all. I love all y'all.
Delaware County.
I've heard Tracy be slanderous. I heard Tracy be slanderous on this show today, and nothing that she said sounds slanderous towards you, Kamari.
Oh no,
on this show.
Not today. But all of y'all bully me. I just want to. All of y'all bully me. So.
Stop it, Kamari.
But listen, what Courtney just brought up, right? about having to play a role, about having to wear the mask, right? That's that double consciousness that the boys talks about. And I mean, Lena Waithe said something. Lena Waithe, being the creator of the Chi, creator of Queen and Slim, said that, listen, when she was talking to the execs about getting Queen and Slim funded, she said she didn't code switch, right? Because code switch is a part of this as well. She said they're going to get all this slang, and she had no problem with it. So I guess at some point we have to say, how much are we willing to go into being fully, authentically Black, with knowing that it could have financial and professional repercussions?
But I think it's who you are, because I think to a certain extent, I think we also get painted with a broad brush of what being Black looks like. And I think you have a hat on it. You have a hat on that kind of speaks to that exact issue. You have a nerd hat on by what, the melanated, remind me of the business's name.
Melanated nerd.
Melanated nerd. So again, a lot of us, like, we have a term called blurs. And I think we would all be considered blurs, but that's not something that people in, I mean, kind of in general society would consider blurred to be a thing. And I think one of the things is that we have to give ourselves how to be able to show up unapologetically who we are and be who we are in our cultural relevance. I mean, I think that's the thing. Like I think there's a lot of commentary I've read online is that someone will say like, well, I listen to Def Leppard, and I'm Black, but that doesn't seem Black enough. And like, no, you're Black. You're Black, you know, and being Black is a thing. Whatever you bring to the party is you. But I think it's very hard for us across the board to show up as unapologetically ourselves, which includes our Blackness. Like, I can't take this off, and I don't want to take this off. But I think that's something that we also grapple with internally. So I think there's a lot of things that. Go ahead.
I just want to add to that part of that, and I recognize I recognize that I sometimes did that in the past. And what I recognize too is, I was taught this. I was taught, to when you go in certain rooms to act a certain way. But I had to come to that realization. I'm like, no, but that's not even who I am. Like, you know what I'm saying? I want to give you my pop culture references. I want to talk ratchet stuff, but also be righteous. So,
oh, go ahead, Jim.
No, I'm just saying. So a lot of times that's taught to us from the time that we're born. We're kind of trained that way, and we have to get out of that. We have to start being unapologetic. But a lot of it comes with, we talk about working with the next generation, allowing them to be who they are.
But again, my commentary is again, I agree with that, and I think everybody is agreeing with. But we also have to know, sadly, that it could come with some repercussions.
Yes,
and I think we had to be fine with that.
And I was going to add, I love this. I love our people really, really spreading their wings and being able to push forward, their individuality and their Blackness in the corporate structures in the workplace. But I do caution you that some arenas are so very, very strongly conservative that you will have significant pushback if you are in some of these really, really tough arenas to want to just throw your Blackness and your individuality in front of your coworkers, your executive board, your leadership, and all those things. So I'm not saying I am not here for a way for that to happen, but I am saying people do have to be precautious. Now, to me, the answer to that is own your own organizations, own your own structures that allow people who come into that to truly flourish and be who they are. Or if you're in these corporate structures, you're going to have to work from within. You're going to have to code switch. You're going to have to get seats at the table for diversity, inclusion, as well as other leadership positions to be able to make those calls from within to say, we need to relax some human resources issues. We need to relax on hair for Black women. We need to relax on, making sure that our company does actually have off for Juneteenth or Martin Luther King Day. Like, there's certain things that I feel like if it's naive to assume that we would be able to just walk in and just say, hey, it's 2021, I'm Black, and I'm just going to be 100% all of those things in every arena. I don't want everybody to take that away from that, to assume that that's what we're talking about, because that's not realistic either, and it can get you fired.
No, it's
It's
okay.
definitely a nuance.
and so
It's definitely a
the
nuance
thing,
thing. So you
there's
gotta
another thing
be
that
careful about. Hold on, Corey.
Hold on.
Yeah,
go ahead.
it's definitely a nuanced thing, right? So you definitely got to be careful in what spaces you navigate it, because again, yes, we're talking about giving everybody all this black swag, but as Tracy just eloquently said, we need people in the sciences. Malik talked about his wife working in the sciences. I don't know of any black-owned pharmaceutical companies, right? We need blacks in government. We need blacks in law. We need blacks in banking. I mean, in so many other places. So
own your time and space. You gotta
And
own
I'm
yourself.
also going to add, even into the conversation with Malik and his wife and those discussions, there used to be programs, and I don't keep up with this stuff now, but there used to be programs like Prime University programs.
Hey, I was a Prime.
Yes, same was I. Upward Bound, different stuff like that. And being honest, a lot of these programs taught some of the soft skills to African Americans who were going into these STEM positions. And they would literally tell you, hey guys, you are in these arenas. Don't do what they do. Don't drink when they drink. Even if they're being crazy and acting up, you can laugh and joke, but please don't assume that you're going to get the same types of privileges as you if something goes wrong.
Correct.
And it was invaluable experiences for people who were going into those engineering, chemical, and pharmaceutical positions. And I'm hoping that they're still carrying on that legacy of teaching these kids how to navigate once they get into these really, really upper echelon spaces where none of us really show up in abundance.
Well,
but I want to ask you this though, Tracy, and Corey, I want to come back to you after this. Isn't that though, to some degree, still training us to code switch and be good little black Negroes that can fit in when we do that?
In some instances, yes, but guess what? You don't own a company yet.
Facts.
So until you own the company,
all right. So as a follow-up question, so how do we potentially create programs that teach folks that to walk both sides of the line, but make them understand what it really is? Because in my opinion, I can't speak for the rest of the panel, those programs tend to promote whiteness, and this is no diss to them. This is just a product of the time and where we're at now. But they don't do a good job of saying that, hey, it is also okay to be black and express your blackness and everything that you got. So how do we get both?
I'm gonna push back on you. That's not what those programs do. First of all, y'all are hilarious.
Some of the ones I've been in have.
That's not what those programs do. Those programs teach them how to survive in
whatever space they're in.
Correct. But it also creates a community. It creates a family. It creates a long-term relationship over the tenure of not only them being in school, but working in these arenas, that by the time they start to climb the corporate ladder, they start to see their friends. They just start to see people in, oh, now you're the director of sterile operations filling. Oh, hey, what's his name? Who is the president of Merck? He's a North Philly kid. Like, oh, we can now bond on different conversations and different things like that because you come from Philly, you come from Upward Bound, you come from Prime. I know these things in these organizations, so I might be more apt to sit and listen to some of the things that you've had an issue with in my company that I'm now the president of, and I can make change from within.
Okay. Yeah. Now, Corey, I cut you off, so I apologize. What were you trying to add?
No. What I was going to say is I've been in a lot of these situations, in a lot of these corporate situations where they wanted to hire me to work me, but they didn't want the black me as part of it.
Right.
No, just real track, right? And it's because I keep my blackness on full display at all times. And so the thing that I was comfortable and willing to pay the price, but the other black people that were in the room were very, very uncomfortable with the way I was acting because they were like, this might reflect on them. And so that's the other thing.
Yes, sir.
The black people at the job was actually more on my ass than the white folks. Because they was like, yo, like, you got to chill. Right. Because we did it this way all this time. And you coming in here with this, super, this damn opaque black attitude and you gonna get us all fired. And I'm like, well, if they fire you because of my attitude, then you don't need to work here anyway. That's what I told them anyway. But but they was like, yo, but then when people got kids and all of that kind of stuff, they not trying to hear that. And literally in every situation like that, a Black person has fired me.
I'm sure.
Listen, because respectability politics is real. A lot of us believe in respectability politics, but they don't love you. That's just the bottom line. If you start there, they don't love you. You know what I mean? So let's just start there and then figure it out. But the whole respectability politics, I don't believe in it. I ain't with that.
I'm just saying that happens. That happened to me a few times. It's never the white people that fire me, because the white people are actually more comfortable with me being fully blackity black, because at interviews I come in blackity black. Like, look, this is how I operate in this space. If you're gonna hire me, this is what to expect. Because you're paying me for my expertise. You're not paying me because you like me. You're paying me because I bring a certain expertise, and you're willing to pay for that expertise. Yes or no? Do you want to hire me?
Or the white supervisors are telling the Black supervisors that they're subordinates to fire you. So that happens as well.
True.
I mean,
I'm gonna say
that could happen.
I feel like this. Corey, you are probably one of the more authentic personalities that I have met in my life. And I commend you for that. And I do feel like your authenticity comes out of your freedom. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of people who are not free, who are very much stuck in this structure of a system that needed to survive, and they needed to be able to maintain with the families and whatever other nuances they have in their life, mortgages, cars, whatever. And I'm not saying that I don't understand where you're coming from, but I understand why you would be a threat to other Black people in your organization, because they're not as unplugged as you. They can't just say, hey, I'm gonna walk away from this if they don't like me or they turn me into this whole other situation. And I feel like I appreciate your personality, and I think it's good for them to see it and see someone so free and being able to demand those things from the hierarchy. But I just caution everybody, even people who are listening and watching, that
Yo, don't do what I do, because you're not willing to pay the prices that I pay.
All right, so that means
I pay those prices.
We got to get more people free. That's the answer, though. We got to.
That's exactly it.
I'm willing to pay those costs. I'm willing to pay. So that's why I don't care. Like, it's not because it's not that, like, I've never cared about any job that I've ever had. I care about people. And so I don't really care about the job. You're paying me to do a job because I have expertise. Do you want my expertise? Yes or no? Yay or nay? I'm not not going around in circles with you, because there's 10 billion jobs in the world. So I'm not getting myself all hooked and caught up in what, you know what I mean? Like, people are so stuck in the, I don't know how to call it, but I'm like, look, man, if I have a certain level of expertise, you're not going to be the only person that's going to want to hire me. So I don't feel like,
no, what you're saying is true, but what Tracy is saying is absolutely true too. Like that's you. Like, I've never met anybody like you anyway. Corey will take a bag from a job, leave it. I've never seen nobody be able to say FOH to a job and get a job the next day, like, as much as Corey. Like, so, but you're unique in that. And I get Tracy's point. Everybody can't do that, man. But that's why the answer is we got to get more people free. We got to get more people free. We got to get more people in systems that are run by us.
So Kirsten from Rich and Regular says this one thing. It was in a podcast like 2 years ago, but I keep going back to it. She says we have to opt out of the system which oppresses us. And the way you do that is you become financially free. So, because I've noticed that there's a lot of racist tactics that happen, on a regular basis. There's a lot of macro and microaggressions, but a lot of people don't feel comfortable in dealing with it because they're afraid of the repercussions and what that means for their job. So again, if you're financially free, you're like, all right, well, I have what I need, and I'm going to sue you because you deserve to be sued. And whatever happens to that, whatever happens, but you're also not going to shake me out because I don't have enough money or whatever the case may be. I got it. And I think we don't have that necessary footing under us to really make the moves that we need to make for us to collectively have a better time.
Man, listen, I did that dead broke. And I'm not saying that I didn't let money become the determining factor. The determining factor was, do you want me to do the job the way that I'm capable of doing the job? And so I'm upfront about what my skill set is. I'm upfront about, people hire me. When people hire me, they know exactly what they're getting. So you have to
recognize you're unique in that. Like, everybody isn't there. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're willing to deal with those consequences when I would say probably 99% of people aren't.
Correct.
Facts.
Exactly.
Facts. All right, let's jump into these comments as we begin to wrap up for the evening, folks. All right, Don Johnson is giving up the diamonds.
That was for me.
Gems. What's that?
That was for me.
Are we sure?
Of course. Elizabeth says church.
Also for me.
Oh, it's always for you, Jimmy. It's always about you.
It's all for you.
Said, KO,
like
Coca-Cola.
I was getting there. Thanks.
I was trying to be helpful.
Lord have mercy.
Besmirchment.
You got it right. So KO, which stands for Coca-Cola, it's a ticker symbol. I know it's KO because Jose talks about his dividend strategy with KO pretty often. Coca-Cola for everybody. All right, so KO/Coca-Cola had a leader who promoted programs of diversity that worked for years until the company stopped paying attention to those programs, at which point diversity again took a backseat. So diversity in the workplace is often used to assuage emotional outbursts, not to really alter the circumstances.
Man. Dr. Jose for using assuage in a sentence. That was kind of fire.
Shout out for me to actually knowing how to say assuage in it. Definitely be like Jimmy out here. So Elizabeth says, Courtney Nicole, say it again.
Thank you.
All right. If you can't find Black excellence, you're not looking. I agree.
Let's go to the hashtag.
Yep.
Shots fired.
Shots fired. All right. So Jose says, shit, I was always judged when people would question my Blackness when given names like Jose, Lewis, or is that Lewis or is that Luis Sanchez? So I see the hashtags there, or the toady marks. Hey, Latoya. I definitely teach my students how to protect their neck. I run Temple's Upward Bound program.
Yes, she does. And she does an amazing job because we've seen some of her students, and she got some brilliant students in her program.
Yes, indeed.
Shout out to all them. We've been there a couple times.
I love it. I'm so here for it.
And so Latoya says we also create exposure. They think it's possible because I ensure that they see themselves in as many fields as possible. That's dope.
Good.
Shout out to you, Latoya.
Keep up the good work, Toya.
All right, so Elizabeth says, I don't wear masks, in my opinion. I'm me, and who I serve reflects that, along with my current hair color and style. In my current industry, even with some upper management of color face, but not really about that life. They Negro-peans, basically, is what she's saying.
Kinfolk ain't kinfolk, honey.
That's right. There's so much pushback. The folk I help have my back and are just protecting their seats. And they aren't trying to bring what is necessary to the company unless you, one, fit the role they want, or two, are unapologetically become financially untouchable. The latter of these two is, I guess, a plus. Yep.
An arduous journey as they work incredibly diligently.
Willard, shout out to you, Willard. Thank you, sir. Great conversation.
Appreciate that.
Listen, Willard is a historian, damn near, right? So getting a compliment from him means we're doing something.
Yeah, yes.
Absolutely.
All right, Elizabeth says, my purpose is greater than your company, and my resume is solid. So I get where Corey is at. Side Tracy knows my feelings.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
No, listen, I know both. I know both sides of it. I know both sides. I definitely get it. The fact that only approximately 30% of Black people want to return to their job and in person speaks volumes about these environments and what they do to our psyche.
Oh, man.
Listen,
man.
There's about to be a whole revolution that is coming to this country that I don't think folks are prepared for. This work from home movement is about to be so astronomical. All of these people have realized that they can function well working from home, and they don't have to deal with office politics. They don't have to travel, and they also don't have to deal with any other kinds of, change of clothes, pretending, code switching, all of that stuff, which releases them from so much mental holdback that they can literally just do their jobs and use their brain power for just doing their jobs.
It's funny because Corey always talks about how part of the reason they want us as people to go into the office really has nothing about productivity, nothing to do with productivity
at all.
Yeah,
it's culture. It's culture all the way.
They want this control.
Programming.
Yeah, it's control. Listen, man, you got to emancipate yourself from mental slavery because none but ourselves can freak them out.
Robert Nesta Marley.
All right, y'all. So listen, it's been a great night. I appreciate you all from being here. But we're going to call it a wrap here. Again, diversity is important. If you are in a position in a company, do your best to help your fellow brother and sister and bring them up.
Before we go, we gotta show love to Neo.
Oh, listen, we already did. We showed Neo love. Listen, Neo is our R&B icon of the week. And next week, we're going to be talking about Anita Baker.
You bring me joy.
Ooh, and talk about Anita Baker and her relationship to Mary J. Blige. Did anybody see My Life?
I did. Listen, Courtney, me and Monica were just talking about this. I watched the whole documentary, right? And it was actually an amazing documentary, but I realized at the very end, we talk about this, how I didn't learn anything new about Mary. How she gave me a whole documentary, and I thought about that. I didn't learn anything really new about it.
Because she lived her life in public since 1995.
No, but if you watch it, you'll see what I'm saying. Like, it's a little different. Like, she still somehow is completely guarded, even when she's trying to call herself being vulnerable.
She did say some things, but it wasn't
not much.
It wasn't, but it was enough to go, oh, okay. And and I haven't been to a Mary concert, but sometimes you'll see in some of her concerts. Listen,
you mean a seance?
Listen, some of her joints.
I see the
anyway.
All right, so listen, y'all. Listen again.
How Mary get the $150? She didn't tell us how she got the $150.
That's true. That's a good point. Like, there's a lot of, but it was very good. But I think it was more about, she's about her fans, and I think the documentary was more about her friends.
That's exactly.
But Liz took the words right out of my mouth, Liz. I was getting ready to say it. Capricorn, no, another Capricorn, honey. That's all Capricorn energy right there. She was like, I'm going to tell y'all what I want to tell y'all, but I'm going to give you a little bit of clue, but I'm not really going to tell y'all the real details. But
listen, everybody out there, before we get out of here, watch at least the first episode of that documentary series on Netflix about pop music and how they what they did to Boys II Men, because it kind of pissed me off. But it's on Netflix.
All right, so listen, y'all. Everybody have a great night. We'll see y'all back next Sunday at 7 p.m. And do us a favor, invite a friend. All right, so Sunday, 7 p.m. Have a great day, everybody.
Peace and soul.
Bye-bye.
Yay.